All right, so I want to go ahead and take a look into the Ed 244 Educational Psychology Pecha Kucha final assignment about some things that I want to take with me as a future educator, some main ideas and main concepts. The first one being the idea of conditioned responses, taking a look into our brains now. What I mean by this is teachers need to understand that what they say and what they do has a major impact and on these kids, and especially when they exemplify new behaviors, that we our responses really do affect them and kind of condition their natural responses to these behaviors. For example, a conditioned response would be how Pavlov's dog was able to salivate at the sound of a bell, because every time that bell was rung, the dog was given a piece of food. So over time, the dog associated the bell sound with food and began to salivate. We need to get our students ready to salivate at learning. All right. So first, here's an example. Say a kid beats up another student. We as teachers must punish this kid. We must make sure that we punish this behavior. This behavior is not allowed, it's not accepted, it's not good. It's not the type of behavior we want, so we must punish this. On the other hand, we want to reward good behaviors. Say for this girl in the back of the class with her hand up, she's answering a question. We must respond and reward her. We must praise her. We say, thank you for taking a risk and answering the question. Your input was very crucial. Thank you. That way these students are more likely to do these types of behaviors. The next thing I would like to take a look at is Piaget's stages. We have the 0 2 sensomotor stage. This is where babies kind of learn that about the world around them through grasping and sucking, looking, listening. On the right, we have the 2 to 7 pre-operational stage. This is where kids are very egocentric and only believe their opinions. All right. On the left, we have the concrete operational stage. This is when kids are about 7 to 11 and kids begin to think logically about concrete events and understand the concept of conservation at this point. On the right, 12 plus formal operational stage. This is where students begin thinking and developing more hypothetical reasoning and ideas. All right, so I plan on teaching fourth graders, and it is very important that we know kids think very literal in this stage, and that they are starting to understand that they have unique feelings and unique thoughts that are unique to them and them only. When working with these kids, it's very important that they understand the idea of reversibility, and what this looks like would be that this is a black lab. The kid would know that a black lab is a dog, and a dog is a mammal, and mammals are animals. So he's able to connect that a dog is an animal. And this is very crucial for understanding more complex problems and how they link together. Talking about more complex problems, students are finally understanding multi-step problems in this stage, and they are able to separate the difference in the problems and the different parts of the problem, so you can start adding more higher thinking problems to these kids. In this stage, Vygotsky points out it's very important for behavioral development that the kids interact socially. And I think this is also very important in my classroom. I want my classroom to always kind of have a little buzz to it because we're always having a conversation, you know? We're learning together as a group. And this leads me into collaborative learning. And I think that this is very important when the students learn with each other, and especially about common interests. I think that the students could lead in their learning and kind of take charge and have an active role instead of just me talking to them. And this is what I plan on my class really looking like in the future. I also want to take a look at the zone of proximal development. This is very key to understanding what our students actually know and can do by themselves, and then finding what's just beyond their level, and then bridging that gap, and then scaffolding the learning for these students to able to grow their what they can do bubble. Another very important thing would be scaffolding. This is mainly just connecting the dots of kids' prior knowledge with new knowledge and new schema. This is the bridge between the two, and this would be scaffolding learning, taking concepts from one area and placing them into another and then working. Another very big thing in this stage is also private speech. And what this means is that kids talk to themselves. When they're young, they do it out loud, and when they get older, they do it in their brains. And it's important that we develop very good vocabulary so the kids' private speech grows as well, and they are able to think more logically, clearly, and more in depth. Bronfenbrenner actually tells us a very important thing, and it's the kind of the meso system, all his systems, and it shows how students come from all over the place, all over the world, from different types of backgrounds, and how this worldly factors and the things they have gone through really develop who they are. A very key important to this is like the meso system and the house life of the student. The house life of the student really affects the learning process. A good home life, good learning process. A bad home life will obstruct the process of learning and hinder them from being the best student they can. And as teachers, we must understand this and accommodate to certain needs. And along with accommodation would be self-regulation and just really understanding what our students are going through outside of school and understanding that there's more to life than just the school and the coursework. And so I, for one, need to make sure that my students' needs are met in order for me to actually teach them so they can learn something that day. Another key concept would be semantic memory. This is kind of the basic knowledge, the basic concept memory. It's very important that we get our formulas and our concepts and our ways of learning into this sort of memory so it just becomes natural. It becomes simple, just a natural reaction for these kids to use these types of formulas in certain everyday things. Another thing that's very important in this stage for fourth graders would be that they are struggling in the industry and the inferiority stages of Erickson's theories. And kids really need to have positive reinforcement in this stage, especially to grow and further and feel adequate enough and feel good enough about themselves to take these risks. And because in if this is a negative stage, the students aren't going to be likely to put themselves out there. So it's on me to provide that welcoming classroom.